Good morning and welcome to the first devlog of Winstone Media, showcasing the game Ecotone, which is going to come out sometime later this year. All right, we're going to do a brief summary, talk about our future plans, talk about some art, coding, and some other topics. If you're just here for the fun visuals, you can stick around for the first couple minutes to see the brief summary of progress. All right, let's dive right into it. So, the main change from the last devlog, which was a text devlog in the Winstone Media Discord, is the redoing of the simulation. So, this is the third iteration of the tree simulator. Um, the tree simulator had originally been just a grid based simulator. Let's pull it up here so we can look at it while we're talking about it. So the original simulation had just been a grid-based simulator, um, but the aesthetics of that were not good enough for me. So I changed it to a free-based, non-grid-based simulator. Um, and now that we're in Simulation V3, there is a way to tweak the simulation such that we can edit the parameters of the simulation just by changing numbers instead of by changing code. As you can see, it's pretty weak right now. Another thing that's been added is tooltips. So if I hover over a tree, I'll get all of the relevant information. It looks like this iteration of the simulation was able to spread. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. But yeah, if I hover over a tree, I'll get some information about it. Right now, these trees are all crowded and diseased, which are two of the statuses in the game. Right now, there's no animation for either, but there will be eventually. Uh, Crowded is basically a collision-based parameter, just a circle around each tree. Each tree has a resistance to crowding and also a um, distance at which crowding affects it. Right now, most trees are either dying to crowding or disease, but again, once we get into play testing, that's going to change a lot. So that's the all I'll talk about for the simulation. I might talk about it later in the devlog. Next up, like I said, tooltips. These are the way you'll be able to see how your trees are doing in the game, as well as the animations of status on the trees. I'm hoping to have trees live up to 100 years, somewhere in that range right now. It's more like 20 years at maximum. Uh, Also, we have our new restriction sliders. So the flow that I anticipate being the way that you play these games with mutations is you would gather the mutation currency. There's not currently a visual counter for that on the board, but there will be by the end of this week. And gene currencies, or your gene currencies. So gene points, mutation points. Your genes will be able to move these sliders around, and then your mutations, you'll be able to change the ranges on these. So some of these, it's interesting because there are about 18 sliders, and I'm not sure I want them all available to the player at any given time, just because that's quite a lot of sliders to have to monitor and manage in your mutation. So I'm thinking of having maybe 3 or 4 available to the player at a specific time frame, so that they have 3 variables at a time to kind of balance against. So the range is how far you can move the slider, and then the genes points is how much you can move the slider in that given mutation. Some of these are good parameters, and some of these are bad parameters. So both hardiness, which is health, and fire resistance are good parameters. So when you move them up, that's when you're spending your gene points, and when you're moving them down, you're getting genes backs that you can spend on other parameters. Humidity resistance is neutral. Sometimes you want your humidity resistance to be you want it's probably poorly named because it's really the midpoint humidity that you're able to tolerate. So the wider the range is, the more humidities you're going to be able to tolerate. And then wherever the slider is the midpoint of those humidities. So it's neutral, meaning that you have to spend genes to go either direction. Right now, I have it so that you can spend your gene points into the negatives, assign them as such, but you're not allowed to confirm the change until you're all positive, and you can reset them like so. This will be this third tab on the left. Next up, I'm going to be working on the climate tracker, and that's the last major visual piece of UI that needs to be done. So yeah, let's see. So I'm looking at there to be three currencies: sun, gene, and mutation. So we've talked about genes, we've talked about mutations. Sun is even simpler. Sun is going to be the currency that your trees generate just by existing, basically like the process of photosynthesis, and that's how you're going to be able to place your new trees. So right now it's free place since we're in debug mode, but imagine you would spend sun points to place a new tree in a new location. You can hover over it to see how it's doing. In this case, this side of the map is a lot colder than this side of the map. So yeah, they are not really able to survive over here unless you place them in a particular way. This layers button, which is not yet active, will be able to show you the humidity and temperature gradients across the map so that you can decide where best to place your trees. Let's see. Right now, I'm considering 22 art pieces complete with 35 remaining art pieces, which implies another 150 hours to art completion. Um, I have listed all the horizontal requirements for code and art, meaning I have scoped the game to its final scope. Reminder that this is meant to be a smaller game, not a large game, and it will be scoped to just be levels that you play and have a high score on and complete. As you can see, there is a tree in the water. That will not happen normally, but right now you can just place seeds in the water and it doesn't care, since it only checks when a tree is birthed in other ways, which is a bug that needs to be fixed. Um, in our debug panel, which I have open with the evolution panel here, we have tried out most of the controls that we'd like. So now we just have to go and place them in the various tabs in the control panel. Over to art. So I do all of my art in Asprite, since this is a pixel game. Asprite continues to be one of my favorite pieces of software. Uh, it certainly has all of the controls that I would need, and I feel like I'm quickly getting better and better at it. So this was the original grass tile that was designed in Asprite's tiling system, which is just an incredibly nice tiling system, and allows you to really make sure that there's no real visible grid in the tile. So I just designed this pretty quick, imagining that I would design another one before going forward in the game. And I've done that this week. So this is the newer grass tile mode. Actually, it's this one, but this is the greener one. And actually, the feedback has been that this tile is not as good as the first tile that I made for grass, just because it's less continuous and a little bit more blocky. There is a bit of a dilemma, which is I like the green of the grass, but I don't want it to conflict with any of the greens of the trees. And so I wanted to make the grass a little bit more yellow. Well, I ended up making it maybe a little bit too much yellow. But I plan to save this tile set for maps that are supposed to be grasslands or um, other kinds of biomes, maybe have some color variations. The thing that is good about this one is that I have a couple of alternative tiles so that the mix of tiles that you see in the game is a little bit more variety. So probably what I'll do is I'll go back to the simpler tile that I liked and make some variations like I have for this yellow tile, and then make a couple of overall color variations for some various biomes. The other thing that I did this week is the animated water. So that's a base water tile and then three potential random tiles, which have 1% chance of generating in any location that it's a water tile will be generated. Let's hit play on that. Um, this is also using the tile system in Aspirite, which works incredibly well. You can see that 5 frames is enough. I'm just doing a 1 second in the game for each frame. Really fun to make, and I feel like I improved a lot because 3 or 4 months ago I tried to make a water tile like this. Really wasn't able to do that, but now I feel like I have the skills to make a nice looping water tile with correct lighting. We got a little rock, we got a splash, maybe a reef, and then we've got a sandbar here. Um, these will spawn randomly. I'd say they should probably spawn rarer than I have them currently, just because they look a little too scattery. I'm gonna bring up the game to show you. So I might tweak that a little bit. I might make some bigger features, although that's difficult because the tile system is only a particular size. But there are patterns that I can use in Godot that I can place down, and so I might give that a go so that they're a little bit bigger. You can also see that I can really zoom out way too far. I do plan to have clouds obscuring the edges of the map so that you can't see quite as far out, but that you can zoom out to the point where you can see the entire map. I'd like to be able to see the entire map because it's fun to see all of the trees spread, grow throughout the entire map, and not have to look at the mini map. But we'll see because it kind of depends on like, okay, well, what ends up being in this corner? Is it going to be a repetitive texture? Is it just going to be kind of empty space, or maybe an empty paper texture? We'll have to see. That's it for art topics. Let me review my list. Devlog next week. The reason I did a video devlog this week is a little bit to get used to videos, and then also to there were a lot of topics that built up over the entirety of June, plus the first week of July, and a text devlog is going to take a long time to create, rather than just a 15-minute video here. So this will be probably the main way I do this moving forward. Probably won't be this long every single time. Future topics. This week, I'm going to work on this climate tracker. So, in the game, the climate will change over time. And you'll have to make sure that your trees have the correct resistances and genes to survive. So, right now, this is just a static image based on the mock up that I made up here. But in reality, as time goes on, you're going to go through these climate phases as you approach the mid game and then the end game. And each map will have particular climates that I will design. When you cross one of these borders, for instance, this first era here is a colder era, then a nice era where everything is pretty much in the middle of the scale, and then a drier era, um, so then a hotter era, etc. So you're going to want to watch this. And then I also want you to be able to click on this and see a larger panel that shows you kind of the values of, how extreme are these going to be, how much changes they're going to be at those transition points going through the few thousand years that we have to survive here. If your trees end up dying out in a particular climate phase, that's all right. As long as you have some remaining sun points, you can replant your trees. If they can't survive in that time period, you'll have to wait. Fast forward until the next climate phase, and then plant your trees again to continue gaining sun points. If you did run out of sun points and you had no trees on the board, that would be a lost condition. So you wouldn't you wouldn't be able to generate any new sun points if you were unable to generate trees, if you had no living trees. Cool. Yeah. As for music right now, One Piece is about halfway complete. I'm planning on having only 3 pieces of music for this small game. I plan to have Button Here to Mute, and where it's a mix of gentle piano and gentle guitar music. I think that concludes Devlog 001. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Happy to share progress, and I hope people get excited about seeing the fully released version of Ecotone. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye bye.